Speaker McCarthy, this is a man who has been described as Hitler, as hateful, and last night, in the words of Pete Buttigieg, epitomizing darkness. Is that what this video shows?
Not at all. And I wish people would see this side of President Trump on some of these stories, or some of these times I've been with him. I remember one of the 13 Gold Star families from Afghanistan came into my office, and they had lost their daughter. And I picked up the phone and I called President Trump. He's no longer president. He's out. He's golfing. He sat there and spoke to him and talked to him for long, consoling them. And at the end of the conversation, he said, "Kevin, pick up the phone." They had mentioned that they were staying not where government would pay, but they were staying down at the Trump Hotel. He said, "Kevin, I'm going to take care of their entire stay. I want to make sure, but don't tell them." I've watched him go, and I went with him as president to Dover, console a family as their loved one who lost their lives in the military come back. And I remember this time that he would call me late at night. And this is he was so passionate about having right to try, giving people the opportunity when they were near death, when we'd have a new drug, that government was holding it up. And I watched him at Mar-a-Lago this time of a young boy at 17 who wasn't able to take the chemo because he wasn't 18 yet. And I watched him sit there and just light up this boy's life and tell him, "You're going to come back. We're going to come back here. In a few months, you'll be able to take the drug, but we're going to bring the whole family. I'm going to celebrate with you." I've watched those moments, and you're seeing this moment now. That's genuine. That's who he is, and that's the place that America needs to see.
Harris, President Trump spoke with Fox and Friends this morning about walking out behind the bulletproof glass to check on a supporter. Let's watch.
You didn't hesitate when you heard this woman collapsed. You walked over to see for yourself. Did you have any hesitation walking down those steps without the protective glass around you?
No, I didn't really. I wanted to help the woman. She had problems. She really had a problem. You know, it was very hot, close to 100 degrees. I'm going to be in a pretty hot place today, too, from what I just saw in your weather forecast. But she was in trouble. No, I didn't really. I didn't think too much about it. I don't want to think about it, actually. I felt we had very good protection.
Marie, not once, frankly, has the left humanized President Trump in any way, shape, or form. But the reality is that this event at the rally and the many instances that the speaker has described, those are common. This is a human and compassionate man.
I mean, Emily, the challenge with that is for every one of those compassionate moments, we have moments where President Trump calls military veterans who have died in the line of duty or gotten injured suckers and losers, where he says awful things about people who have died for their country, in service of their country, where he says terrible things about women in politics, sexist, awful, misogynist things. So I agree that that was a nice moment. It was for those of us who've worked with Secret Service, every time the president does something that's not planned, that is nerve-wracking for them, especially after what President Trump has been through. But for every compassionate moment, there are 10 moments where he says terrible things about people, about Kamala Harris, about average Americans. He called Kamala Harris a very bad word I cannot repeat on this air. So I think we see the full picture of Donald Trump as a person, and I think the American people, more importantly, see that full picture. And we hear from voters that that language he uses on those less gracious moments really matters to them, really matters to them.
Yeah. Harris, what do you think?
Well, first of all, to that, I'm never going to defend somebody for that kind of language. I would say this: if you talk with people, and I have here particularly at the DNC and outside in Chicago streets, and you ask them about the mean tweets and the language, they immediately go to the economy. It is not going to say none of it matters unless my kids are in the room. That's what one mom told me. She said, "But you know what matters most? If I can't feed those kids because the prices at the grocery store are so much." So you can talk about words and you can talk about actions. And Kamala Harris has a lot to answer for when it comes to her actions or inactions on things like the border. With regard to this video, I watched the reversal of this video today. And the Trump team has put together something that they have worked on to show the public, and I don't know when, I'm sure journalists are receiving it like we do things early. When they roll it out is when they roll it out. We don't work for them, so we don't roll out that. But I can tell you from the opposite end of looking at this video, and I'm certain people will see it, you see from the reverse angle of him walking, and you see the woman, kind of being pulled up. They're trying to hydrate her, and he leans in to hug and kiss her on the cheek, which you can barely see from this angle. But when you see it from the other angle, you know that in that moment, he's not thinking of himself, because if he were, he would have waited for the entourage of, police and SS agents or whomever are behind him, the Secret Service, to catch up, but he didn't. And when you see him walk down the stairs, so why does all of that matter? Again, we're looking at action rather than words. So is everybody going to jump in and save someone today? I don't know. It depends on how life rolls out while all these candidates, top and bottom of both tickets, are out on the trail. But if you want to compare words to action, I think the American public is going to lean into what they're seeing on that screen.
Kayleigh, when Harris mentions Americans leaning into what they're seeing, they have to see it to lean in. And my question to you is, when Taylor Swift called security over to help a concert goer, that was amplified hundreds of times in the media around the world. And I'm wondering, do you think that the media will show this even at all?
I want to address what Marie said, because she mentioned the suckers and losers alleged comments. That was reporting in The Atlantic. I have never, in my entire time working around Trump, ever heard him disparage a member of the military, a fallen person who died for this country, ever. And in fact, I worked on the response to that story and collected dozens of people in the administration who had been there since day one who said that never happened. So that's reporting, not confirmed and unconfirmed, and I could say an outright lie based on my experience. Also said on the stage behind me is that former President Trump disparaged his supporters. Again, something I never heard. And to your point, Emily, about this visual, that tells you all you need to know about some of the mistruths we have heard from this stage. This is someone who loves his supporters, doesn't disparage them, who walked behind bulletproof glass after 5.5 weeks ago, almost losing his life. He was almost assassinated, this man. And he walked around to check on a supporter and hug her. That tells you all you need to know.
More Outnumbered right after the break.